My name is Hannah Blake, and before I tell you what happened the night my own sister called me the family embarrassment in front of 47 guests, do me a quick favor. Subscribe to the channel and comment your country below, because I want to know where you're watching from. Now, listen carefully, because what happened next is something I still struggle to explain without shaking. It was supposed to be her night. My younger sister, Olivia, had organized this elegant dinner party at a private venue downtown. White roses, crystal glasses, soft piano music playing in the background, everything curated to perfection, like her life always seemed to be. I arrived 10 minutes early, wearing the only formal dress I could afford at the time, simple navy blue, nothing flashy, but I thought I looked decent. The moment I stepped inside, I felt it. That shift in energy, the kind that makes you aware you don't belong before anyone even says a word. Conversations softened, eyes lingered a little too long, and then I saw her. Olivia stood near the center of the room, glowing in a designer dress that probably cost more than my monthly rent, laughing with her guests like she owned the world. When she finally noticed me, her smile didn't fade. It sharpened. "Oh, you actually came," she said, loud enough for the surrounding group to hear, her tone wrapped in fake surprise. I forced a small smile and nodded, trying to ignore the heat creeping up my neck, but it only got worse from there. As more guests arrived, she kept making subtle comments, little jabs disguised as jokes, reminding everyone how different our lives turned out, how she worked hard while I was still figuring things out. I stayed quiet, telling myself it would pass, that I could just get through the evening and leave with whatever dignity I had left. But then came the moment that shattered everything. About an hour in, Olivia clinked her glass, drawing everyone's attention. The room fell silent as she began her little speech, thanking everyone for coming, talking about success, family, image, and then she turned to me. I swear I felt my stomach drop before she even spoke my name. "And of course," she said, smiling sweetly, "we all have that one person in the family who reminds us what not to become." A few people chuckled nervously, unsure if they heard her right. I froze. My chest tightened as every pair of eyes shifted toward me. "My sister Hannah," she continued, raising her glass slightly in my direction, "our very own family embarrassment." This time, the laughter was louder. Real. I couldn't breathe. My fingers gripped the edge of the table as my vision blurred, humiliation crashing over me in waves so intense I thought I might collapse right there. And just when I thought it couldn't get worse, someone slowly pushed their chair back. The sound echoed through the room. At first, I didn't even realize who it was, but when I turned my head and saw Olivia's husband standing up, his expression completely different from everyone else, that's when everything began to change. For a second, no one understood what was happening, not even Olivia. The laughter slowly died out as her husband, Daniel, stood there in complete silence, his chair slightly pushed back, his hand resting on the table like he was steadying himself. I remember thinking maybe he was about to defend her, maybe he was going to turn this into another joke at my expense, but the look on his face didn't match that at all. It wasn't amused, and it definitely wasn't supportive. It was controlled, tense, like he had been holding something in for far too long. "Olivia," he said finally, his voice calm but sharp enough to cut through the room, "I think that's enough." The shift was immediate. You could feel it, like the air had been sucked out of the room. Olivia blinked, caught off guard, letting out a small laugh as if trying to brush it off. "Relax, Daniel, it's just a joke," she replied lightly, but there was a flicker of irritation in her eyes now. He didn't smile. He didn't sit down. Instead, he reached into the inner pocket of his jacket and pulled out a thick, cream-colored envelope. I watched his hand closely, steady, deliberate, as he held it for a second before looking straight at me. Not at Olivia, at me. My heart started pounding again, but this time it wasn't just humiliation, it was confusion, fear, anticipation, all tangled together. "Actually," Daniel continued, his voice now carrying a weight that made everyone listen, "there's something I've been meaning to give you." The room fell completely silent. I could hear the faint clink of glass somewhere in the background, someone shifting in their seat, but all eyes were on him now. Slowly, he walked around the table, each step measured, until he was standing right in front of me. Up close, I could see something I hadn't noticed before. His jaw was tight, his eyes serious, almost apologetic. He extended the envelope toward me, and for a moment, I hesitated. My hands were still shaking from everything Olivia had just said, my mind racing with 100 questions. Why me? What was this? Was this some kind of setup? "Go ahead," he said quietly, just loud enough for me to hear. I swallowed hard and took it from him, the paper heavier than I expected, like it carried more than just whatever was inside. Olivia let out a sharp exhale behind him. "Daniel, what are you doing?" she snapped, the sweetness in her voice completely gone now. He didn't turn around. "Fixing something that should have been addressed a long time ago," he replied. My fingers slowly opened the envelope, the sound of the paper tearing echoing louder than it should have in the silence. Inside were several documents, official-looking, neatly organized, and right on top was a letter with my name printed clearly across it. Hannah Blake. My breath caught in my throat as I unfolded it, my eyes scanning the first few lines, and then stopping. My entire body went still. I blinked once, twice, trying to make sure I was reading it correctly, because what was written there didn't just surprise me, it didn't make any sense at all. And judging by the way Daniel was watching me, and the way Olivia had suddenly gone completely pale behind him, something told me this wasn't just a letter. This was the moment everything she thought she controlled was about to fall apart. My hands tightened around the paper as the words settled into something real, something undeniable. And for a few seconds, I couldn't even hear the room anymore. It was like everything around me had faded out except the sound of my own heartbeat. The letter wasn't just addressed to me, it was about me, about something that had been hidden my entire life. I lifted my eyes slowly, first toward Daniel, who gave me a small, almost reassuring nod, and then toward Olivia, whose confident posture had completely collapsed into something fragile, something panicked. "You should read it out loud," Daniel said, his voice steady but firm, and that's when the room leaned in again, curiosity replacing the awkward tension from before. I swallowed, my throat dry, and forced myself to speak, even though my voice trembled at first. "This letter serves as formal confirmation." I paused, my eyes scanning the next line again just to make sure I wasn't misunderstanding it, "that Hannah Blake is the sole legal beneficiary of the Blake Family Trust and all associated assets, effective immediately upon verification." A ripple of confusion spread across the guests. Someone whispered. Another person shifted in their seat. But I wasn't done. My eyes dropped to the next paragraph, my breath catching as I continued, stronger this time. "Due to previously undisclosed arrangements and the expressed wishes of the late Richard Blake," I stopped again, my chest tightening, "our father, all controlling interests, properties, and financial holdings previously believed to be managed under joint family discretion are now transferred exclusively to Hannah Blake." Silence. Complete, suffocating silence. I lowered the paper slowly, my hands no longer shaking, not from fear, but from something else entirely. Clarity. The same room that had laughed at me just minutes ago now stared in stunned disbelief. And Olivia, she looked like she had just lost the ground beneath her feet. "That's not possible," she said suddenly, her voice sharp, almost desperate as she stepped forward. There has to be a mistake." But Daniel finally turned to face her, and whatever she saw in his expression made her stop mid-sentence. "There's no mistake," he said quietly. "You were never supposed to find out like this, but after tonight, I couldn't stay silent." My heart pounded again, but this time it felt different, steady, grounded, like something inside me had finally clicked into place. All those years of being overlooked, dismissed, treated like I didn't matter, none of it had been what it seemed. I looked around the room, meeting the eyes of the same people who had laughed just moments ago, and for the first time, I didn't feel small. I didn't feel invisible. I folded the letter carefully and placed it back into the envelope, then lifted my chin slightly, my voice calm but unshakable. I think the embarrassment, I said slowly, glancing at Olivia, was never me. No one laughed this time. No one dared to, because in that moment, everything had shifted, and the sister who built her image on tearing me down was now standing in the ruins of her own illusion, while I walked out of that room not as the family embarrassment, but as the one who had everything she never saw coming.